Okay, I'll say.
Трохи по-українськи, трохи по цьому. По-англійськи.
In situations, sad situations like this, one shouldn't speak very long, but I'm speaking from perspective of either 70 years or now that I think of it, of 70 from 1947. We hiked through German Alps together in the same scout group, and we also took a boat ride at different times on a Rhine River in Germany. But he was in different displaced person camp, and I was in different displaced person camp. We were both about 12 years old then. And so I remember him, but we were not buddies. Our friendship started at the funeral of your grandfather, Gurun. We came to Rochester, and I knew very well Vitkovitsky family. Zirka Vitkovitska was at those hikes with us. And the Gurun family brought Vitkovitsky family to the United States, so you lived in the same house, same apartment. They had 4 children, and you had also, I think, there were 4 children. So they were very close. It was treated as a family, as cousins. So. And then I came and joined this. Well, I heard that your grandfather was Holova Prosvite. He was a very, well, I talked to Oля at length, and to your grandmother, Mama, Baba Gurun. And he was in Austrian army. He became a prisoner of war and kept in Italy, in prisoner of war camp, where they were hardly any food. People were dying from hunger and from illness. It was certain that. It was a death camp. The only chance was to escape. And many tried, and you were shot if you were caught. He wasn't caught. He ended up in Paris, France. There he found out, I'm talking about the year 1916, 1917, he heard that Petlura in Kiev is gathering troops to fight for freedom of Ukraine. He didn't go to his village. He didn't go to see his mother or father. He went straight to Kiev and joined Січові стрільці. That tells you something about his character and about his patriotism as Ukrainian. He became legend just doing that. But that fight was lost. He came home to the village. The village that was very interesting. The word Ukraine was not used, was forbidden to be used. People still lived like serfs. There were 2 bars, dvi koršmi, one for men and one for women. He brought the enlightenment to that village. He opened up a library. He started lecturing, teaching people how to take care of the fields. He was in the world. He was in Italy, he was in France, in Germany, and Austria. he saw the world. He became so popular that he was selected to be a beat of this village, and 2 or 3 other villages around. They said, we want him to be the head of the village, which was very unusual, not to live in those villages, and yet he was chosen to be the head. Second World War and ethnic cleansing and horrors of Second World War are not mentioned, I don't think, in this book. But he did witness where 2 of his uncles were shot right in front of the house. Well, anybody who lived through that remembers, and somehow we don't want to talk about it. But I became aware of Bogdan Gurán at the funeral of his father, that I knew that he was the head of Prosvita, and we all lived within 10 blocks. None of us had telephones, none of us had television, didn't exist then. I'm talking about 1950, but we all got to know each other. We would meet on a street, in a club. Well, and I went to the funeral and I said my condolences, and then I felt like, well, to say goodbye, I felt like it's my job to walk him home. And that short walk tightened up our friendship for 70 years. It wasn't the kind of friendship that we had to talk about little details, because we're friends. Never had a friend like that. So, whether he was in Germany as a soldier, or he was away Purdue University getting his PhD, where already Levko was born, I knew that I was sending care packages, kolbasu and bread. But Bogdan was somehow, in his own quiet way, very active in development of PLAST, youth organization, scouting. He was the first, and in a broad sense of that word, he was not only a scout for scouts, Ukrainian scouts. He was the first one to originate, we called it the Свято Весни, the holiday of spring. It was a camp out, 3-day camp out, with whom he insisted that in each tent there was a scout and some mivets to bring the kids together. That didn't matter and so on. And he was, somebody said, Levko I think said, how come this is Pravoslavny center? This was being planned as a monument. That church is not a practical church. It's a monument to remember 6 million of Ukrainians that died during Ukrainian Holocaust or famine. And I'm Orthodox. Your mother was Orthodox. But that was the way we grew up in tradition of Orthodoxy or Catholicism, which is unique Catholicism. It's not Catholicism, it's Greek Catholic. It's the only Greek Catholic, the only Catholic priest that can marry. The Roman Catholics don't even know about it in most cases. But with us, it made no difference. If in this group of friends, and I remember Plastunei, there was a service, well, Bodan, Nestor Kolzo, and would go because there were very few Orthodox, just to make us look more. And I was used to coming to St. Joseph's Church because most of my friends were Catholic, and we simply didn't talk. That didn't make any difference. And Tamara just happened to be Pravoslav. I wanted to say something about, don't know what to say. But in Rochester we had almost a mafia kind of a orientation. There were a group of us that were of the same age, and people like Roman Pavlovich, who was one of the first ones to die. And Schmigel family. And Gurans. Well, I lived almost 40 miles away from Rochester, but on the farm by Erie Canal, with a house that was built 250 years ago, or 10 years before the Erie Canal was built. So sometimes our friendship and strengthened when my wife found a quarry, a lake, a very nice water, two springs, self-fed, cool water, and so we, being patriots, we called it siege, like Cossacks. Well, we incorporated it, and I'm getting the papers from some corporations that, are you a president of SICK corporation? So we got rid of that name soon after. But we became a gathering point for all of our friends who would come with their families in the summertime. But Gurans would, even though they had their beautiful homes, comforting homes with air conditioning and so on, they would prefer to go and pitch tents, and Bohdan and Zenko would go to work from the tents, and the rest of them just rafted and had a heck of a good time with fish. Boyan was still bambino. Well, life was so full of joy and good experiences that when I think of it, it couldn't be any better. Part of it was the fact that we were all so poor that anything you did was plus, and you couldn't do things wrong. You didn't have to be especially, and we grew financially and educationally and somehow, and part of that growth is a witness of Oksana Lunkevich and Mikola Shevchin, who was brought from Buffalo, that is present here. But the rest of them, I must have received over 20 calls. We hear that you are trying to go to the funeral. Please remember us. And I didn't make the list, but Stefa Pavlovich, Kobas, Babuks, and on and on. So I'll take those sheets that you autobiography and I'll pass them around. And I will, in lieu of flowers, will give over to Novi Sad. I'm beginning to be used to the fact that many of my good friends. They were, I thought we went through periods that no one thought about that. Or if there was illness, people would recuperate. Now I'm surrounded by it. That's a real life. Let me finish this story. What you did, it's customary to raise the drink to the memory of. The only reason, the only difference is because we drink when people get born, christening, kuma, and so on. And weddings, everybody drinks, and even Christ himself changed water into wine when they ran short. And we drink at sad occasions. But there is a story that comes from the mountains of Caucasus, from area of Georgia, Gruzia. People lived there to 100 years, quite often. Stalin was Georgia. They made wonderful wines. I lived there. I didn't live, but I spent some time in Georgia learning their customs. And there was very interesting custom. I didn't make it up. I'm just repeating what I learned in this situation for them. That left us, and he, as priest suggested, he started journey up, and there are services to commemorate those 9 days, 40 days. And he slowly rising up above the clouds, and he finds a table. And all of his, those 72 friends, there is Tamara, and there is Romka Pavlovich, and there is Tam Shevchin, Mikola, and Shmigins, all Gurans, all friends sitting at the table like that on a cloud, and the wine is pitchers, and they invite him to have a drink. He drinks, and they're asking, who's left there? And he says, well, so-and-so is left, but he can't walk, and that one can't remember, and that one is still all right with a cane. He's telling them about the neighbors, and they keep asking questions about their relatives, friends. But he notices, he says, you tell me, we've been sitting here at this table and drinking from this pitcher, and it's always full. Nobody goes. You pour, and the pitcher keeps. Wow, they said, that's the rule of the heaven here. As long as people down below keep remembering us, our pitcher will always be full of wine. When they stop remembering us, the pitcher will be dry. So I would like to end my farewell story of my very good brother with what Lesa started. May his pitcher be always full. Wieczna pamięć. When you drink, you don't make the noise, you only raise to the sky. Wieczna pamięć.